Did you know that no Philippine president lives in Malacañang Palace at night? But why? Malacañang Palace, the official residence of the President of the Philippines, is not just a place of governance. It's a symbol of power, a residence and a place steeped in history. But here's something that many people don't know. No Philippine president has ever made Malacañang their permanent home. In fact, no president lives there at night. Why? How did such an important place come to be left abandoned at night? Today we'll dive deep into the history, mystery, and even the psychological burden that has made Malacañang a place many presidents prefer to leave after the workday ends. Malacañang Palace was not always the grand, imposing structure it is today. The story of Malacañang begins in 1750, when it was first built as a simple country house along the banks of Pasig River. The Spanish colonial government used the building as a rest house for their officials, and it was not until 1825 that the Spanish Governor-General officially moved into the residence. But even then, it was still a modest structure compared to the Grand Palace we think of today. Under Spanish rule, Malacañang was not as much of a political symbol as it became in the following years. During this time, the palace was more of a working residence for officials than a home for leaders. However, in the late 19th century, as the Philippines' political environment began to change, Malacañang's role shifted significantly and secure structure, which would later become the palace we recognize today. In 1901, during the American colonial period, William Howard Taft became the first American Governor-General to live in the palace, cementing its role as the center of power in the Philippines. In 1946, following the country's independence, Sergio Osmeña became the first president of the Republic of the Philippines to occupy Malacañang. However, Osmeña did not fully embrace the luxury of Malacañang. He was not one to indulge in grand displays of power. Still, it was during Manuel Rojas' presidency that the palace began to take on its full role as the seat of political power. As the Philippines entered the post-war era, the Philippines saw growing political tension and change. Malacañang Palace, which had once been a relatively modest home, now became a political symbol of authority and governance. With the election of Ferdinand Marcos in 1965, Malacañang took center stage as a hub of both politics and controversy. Marcos' time in Malacañang was marked by grandeur. And his wife, Imelda Marcos, was known for her extravagant lifestyle, including renovations to the palace. Imelda's obsession with power and luxury turned the palace into an almost regal space, yet it also became a symbol of growing authoritarianism. However, Marcos's reign also brought with it the first major instance of a president seemingly uncomfortable in the palace at night. During his time, Malacañang's dark corridors and lavish chambers became associated with political tension, military rule, and corruption. Despite Malacañang's grand history and its iconic status, staying there at night seems to be a psychological burden for many presidents. It's a place filled with the weight of history, political strife, and often fear. Take, for example, Ferdinand Marcos. His regime, filled with corruption, oppression, and martial law, may have left a psychological scar. Although Marcos lived in the palace during the day, by night he chose to leave. He had a tendency to avoid being alone in the palace after hours. Why? The eerie history of the place and the political atmosphere of paranoia. Stories of ghosts haunting the palace and the palpable feeling of oppression made it more difficult for Marcos to sleep soundly. Even Corazon Aquino, who came to power after the People Power Revolution of 1986, chose to stay away from Malacañang. Aquino believed that Malacañang was a symbol of the Marcos dictatorship, and staying there would be a constant reminder of the trauma from the martial law era. Aquino chose to reside in her private home in Quezon City, making a clear statement about the kind of leadership she wanted to embody. Many Philippine presidents also cited the eerie and unsettling atmosphere of Malacañang. Over the years, rumors of ghosts and hauntings have surfaced. It is said that Emilio Aguinaldo, the first president of the Philippines, haunts the halls of Malacañang Palace. Some believe that his spirit lingers in the palace because of his tragic fall from power and the turbulent times of revolution that followed his reign. President Ramon Magsaysay was known to be deeply superstitious. He experienced strange occurrences during his time in the palace, including hearing footsteps when no one was around, but these reports were never fully confirmed. Still, they contributed to the idea that Malacañang, a place filled with the country's political history, could have unsettling remnants of the past. These ghost stories may seem far-fetched, but the psychological impact they have on the leaders is undeniable. The fear of the unknown, coupled with the desire to escape from the weight of the presidency, might explain why many presidents choose to leave Malacañang when night falls. Malacañang's strategic importance goes beyond its history and hauntings. It's a place that has been a target for political unrest, assassination attempts, and military coups. Take, for instance, the event of February 1986, during the People Power Revolution. Marcos and his family fled Malacañang after a violent uprising. When the Aquino administration had already started taking root, the palace's role as a vulnerable center of political power was exposed. Given this history of unrest, many presidents after Marcos have been cautious about the security of Malacañang. The constant threat of political upheaval means that it might be safer for the sitting president to remain in their private residences, where they feel more secure from public attention and possible threats. One political reason why no president stays in Malacañang overnight is the desire for distance from the palace's political environment. Over the years, leaders like Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Benigno Aquino III, and Duterte have all maintained private residences separate from Malacañang, preferring the comfort and safety of their own homes. We'll now look at the stories of individual presidents who chose to live away from Malacañang at night, beginning with Ferdinand Marcos. Known for his ambition and his long rule, Marcos's decision to live in a secure location outside Malacañang was often attributed to political instability and the psychological toll of his rule. Let us know what you think in the comment section.